Greetings, fellow ghouls and specters alike. It's your ghost host with the most, Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive, here to engage in some haunted holiday hijinks by trudging through the catacombs and dusting off the cobwebs as we recount our spooky selection of Halloween classics.
So light the jack-o'-lantern, suit up, and grab the candy dish as we recount tonight's selection, The Batman versus Dracula. It's Bat on Bat Madness. Oh god. Okay, BlueDragonFive, we are back. We are doing our first superhero-themed haunted holiday hijinks of this year. Batman versus Dracula. Dragon, this is going to be one that's going to require a little bit of background because this is the first time I've ever been exposed to the Batman show. We did, if I remember correctly, we did the Christmas episode of Brave and the Bold, correct?
Yes.
And I really like that. I had a good impression of Brave and the Bold from what I saw of it, but this is the first time I've seen of the Batman. So Dragon, of course, we're going to get into it a little. We're going to do a full-length commentary, break it all down. But before we do that, what background info do you have to share about this?
Sure. So let me give the kiddies out there some context, because years have gone by, apparently. So,
apparently.
Yes. Yeah, I kind of realized when I was watching this earlier, not today, but previously I watched it again, because, it's October, we want to watch some Halloween stuff, kind of the point of this whole thing we're doing here. But, we kind of noticed, oh my god, this movie came out in 2005. It's been...
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, T. It's about 11 years, right?
11 years. Yep, 11 years. You feeling old yet?
Nope. Not feeling old. I'm just feeling like time's going by.
I'm feeling like I'm in my late 20s, which is kind of scary, but I digress.
Yeah. So basically, here's the clip. Many people might be wondering, what is The Batman? It's Ben Affleck's new movie. Well, that's still up in the air. We're not quite sure about it. Well, technically, we're not. That's a working title according to Affleck, but we'll see how that goes.
Sure, I hope it's not a working title, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm fine with The Batman. I'm just saying.
I know, I'm fine with it. I think it's a great title, but
I think
they don't change it.
Yeah, let's not dwell on. I'm just saying, never take any titles that are announced until they're on a poster.
Of course.
Anyway, the point is, so there was a show in 2004 called The Batman. It was a series on Kids WB. It was basically following the DCAU, which is a tough act to follow. I think that goes without saying. The DCAU, of course, being the most iconic. Like anyone who never read a comic, they've seen this series just to get familiar with the characters. Like people are just going in to kind of the DC characters just based on kind of media, which now we have a surplus of. Back then, if you didn't have all the live action shows we have now, even before Smallville, you had this. The DCAU. So basically this was in the period kind of the shows outside of the DCAU, which are pretty much limited to because eventually Static was also lumped into the DCAU. It was pretty much, let's just say, the way to simplify is we had 2 more years left on Justice League, then that would have been kind of the end of the DCAU.
Right.
And this in that 2 years we still had we had Teen Titans, which was outside the DCAU, and we had this. So these were the 2 shows we had: Teen Titans, not the crappy version we have now, but the good version of Teen Titans, and The Batman. Mm-hmm. So again, basically, the premise of The Batman, just to simplify, is that they made changes for a fresh take on Kids WB, which foolishly kind of put Kaputski, the New Adventures of Batman, said, we don't need to renew it anymore. Let's just we'll stop here. Let's keep going with the other shows we got going on. So again, that's kind of their penance for we stopped the Batman, so there's now any more Batman episodes, and Justice League was on Cartoon Network, so let's get Batman back on our side, pretty much.
Right.
And most importantly, with this take on Batman, it was once again tailored for Saturday mornings, and it just shows you without Gene McCurdy up to bat for you, you're going to have more standards and practices to appease. So it wasn't exactly the kind of the artistically free Batman the Animated Series we had back in the day in the 90s. This is in 2004, and Saturday mornings on Kids WB of all networks, where directly you do not want to offend the kids on this network because you have kids in your title.
Yeah.
So, or parents, more specifically parents, because oh my god, that's cool, that's awesome. Put on RoboCop.
I don't think any kid's gonna get offended by it.
Of course not. Mommy, why is the Joker slitting that man's throat? Don't pay attention, Johnny. Anyway, so the showrunners were Michael Goguen, if I'm saying it right. I never know how to pronounce that guy's last name. Points Michael Goguen, Dwayne Capizzi, and we had two familiar writers and producers from the other Batman shows. Mainly our producers, Alan Burnett, who Teague, I believe you recall from Paul Dini's The Dark Knight True Story.
Oh yeah, right, of course.
And Glenn Murakami, who was a big brain behind Batman Beyond. The point is, Glenn Murakami he's always been very important to Batman, but Alan Burnett's been essentially the godfather to Batman animation. Even before Batman the Animated Series, he was working on Super Friends and the whole lot. He's always been tied to Batman.
That goes way back. Okay.
I want to say he's kind of retired around the time of Beware the Batman, but that's still pretty in the Batman universe for a long period of time. Most importantly, with the look of the show, that's on Jeff Masuda, and Jeff Masuda was behind Jackie Chan Adventures, which I really do like that show. But that
is a good show. That show holds up, I think.
It does, except for the last season. But yes, Jackie Chan Adventures. It's, I love kind of like the talismans. All that. We're not talking about Jackie Chan Adventures.
Of course, I love just the whole conceit of like marketing a whole show based on like a guy. Anyways, go ahead.
The point is, Jeff Masuda provided the designs and kind of the art style for the universe, which some people are really mixed on. The show is rather polarizing because you got to remember the time it came out.
Yeah, that art style. Yeah.
You got to remember, time it came out, this, again, big shoes to follow. Immediately people hate change right off the bat, so a lot of people didn't give it a chance. Yet it still survived, because the kids, it was mainly intended for people who didn't have high expectations for Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was serviceable, and there's a lot more substance underneath it, but you have to give it a fair chance to kind of see that. And they did kind of buckle over time, because, again, let me set the stage before I mention what they eventually did. They took chances with elements that the animated series didn't really dive deep into. I mean, some ideas might have been hinted at in the animated series, but again, the animated series was kind of like, they laid the groundwork. Doesn't mean they had time to really kind of extend all the various directions they could have gone into, because that would have been like 80 shows.
Right.
So mainly the main directions this show took with Batman were Batman as a vigilante was the focus of the first two seasons, and a little bit in this movie. And Batman kind of looked at as like this outside the law vigilante figure. The cops aren't on his side instantly. We see Batman in his early years in Gotham. He's 3 years into the job in this series, reportedly. It's a new take on most characters. Main characters, I mean, like Joker, which we'll get into. It's mostly in design for Joker. We'll get into that when we get into the movie. Let me talk about the Penguin for a moment, because Penguin was the character that reoccurred a lot. Some people aren't really crazy about Penguin's reoccurrence. He is voiced by Tom Kenny, and they're kind of mixing kind of your debonair Penguin, but he's much more through the vein of the Danny DeVito Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what if the Danny DeVito Penguin had thought he was more upscale than?
Okay, that makes sense.
But here's the great idea with this Penguin, Teague, and you do see a little bit of it in this movie. Thankfully, is that I love that there's a great concept behind this Penguin. Is that this Penguin is the anti-Bruce Wayne. He ties very deeply into Gotham's history. This in his first appearance, if you ever just want to just get a glimpse of the potential of this Penguin, look at his first appearance is where he goes to one of Bruce Wayne's parties or something, and basically it's established that he's a Cobblepot, and the Cobblepots, much like Scott Snyder has dealt with in a few stories in the past, that Cobblepots were the respectable rich families of Gotham.
Sure.
But in this show, The Batman, they show that the Cobblepots are also known for being really cruel, really snobby, rich family, real POS kind of rich family in a way. And the main kind of crux of this was that the reason that Cobblepots hate the Waynes is that the Cobblepots had the Pennyworths working for them at first, and they treated them horribly.
Okay. Huh.
It's like Alfred's ancestors worked for the Cobblepots, and they treated them horribly. Again, they didn't treat their servants well. And I want to say that kind of led to like a Wayne feud when the Waynes treated the Pennyworths. Again, like it was like a jealousy, and it's like always like, oh, I hate the Wayne family. And the big thing, last thing I'm going to say, I don't want to go on too long, last thing about the Penguin, is that the reason this Penguin has to contend with is now he's formerly the richest, most kind of upscale family in Gotham aside from the Waynes, and in the years that came, along the Bruce Wayne years, he lost the family fortune is lost, and he's trying to keep up appearance. Like he gives out dollar bills as tips, just saying, "Oh yes, keep the change." He's trying to pass off the fact that so this Penguin is constantly trying to strive for legitimacy. He's living up to he's trying to reamass fortunes with his crime, and he's trying to live up to his family name. So in a way, a lot of similarities to Bruce Wayne, but again. They kind of play him a little silly, a little campy at times. He's just kind of the weird guy with the umbrella, and he has like weird henchmen a lot of the time. But the point is that there were directions, a lot of potential in this show.
Okay.
And point is, you had directions like that, and eventually this was kind of lasted up to season 3. basically seasons 1 and 2 are the direction they were going with. Networks and kind of the, I guess, the audience reception was like really unfrosty, if you will.
I mean, I couldn't imagine the challenge of following up not just Batman the animated series, but like the entire like that Justice League, Superman, Batman Beyond. I mean, it's an impossible act to follow.
I should mention the show also had a big handicap. Big handicap was that the DCAU was also going through this in their last 2 years as well. But I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Bat embargo. Are you?
No, I'm not.
Bat embargo, very simple. It's that mainly the Nolan films, when the Nolan films were in production, you can't use, with the exception of the Joker, because the Joker is as old as Batman is, maybe a year younger than Batman is. Point is, Joker's been around. Joker's the exception to this, but you can't use Batman villains or specific characters that are used in the movie, so you don't confuse the kiddies.
Oh my god! Oh wow!
Again, there are a few exceptions, but mainly of a current movie that's happening or current thing that's in the works. So basically, when Batman Begins coming, that means in this series they couldn't use Scarecrow,
right?
Couldn't use Scarecrow, couldn't use Ra's al Ghul, and the most noticeable is that they had a character they really wanted to use Harvey Dent, so they had to change it to Clayface. So they couldn't use Harvey Dent. They could not use Harvey Dent, so they made basically Bruce Wayne friends with the detective for the GCPD. So they really changed Clayface up a lot for the show, and he kind of became a friend of Bruce Wayne's who kind of went the killing Joker route, and Joker turned him into Clayface.
Okay.
So again, there were interesting ideas. My point is, to boil it all down here, they were going in directions I think if we ever gave it a second look, we might see the potential, like I'm kind of bringing up now, for seasons 1 and 2. And then they kind of ran out of steam. Like, okay, well, look, we're just going to start laying in. You're going to start kind of bringing in the animated series elements, kind of the redeeming traits of Batman, the iconic stuff. Like Gordon came in at the end of season 2, and then season 3 you get Batgirl, and then season 4 it's Robin and Harley Quinn, and then 5 you have the Justice League. Okay. So again, it's like bringing in the familiar territory. And anyway, so getting back to our main topic of the evening is, that's just the way the Batman kind of turned out. Seasons 3 to 5, that's when they got back to the kind of the people liked a lot more improved deeply, but still interesting stuff in the beginning we shouldn't look over. Batman vs. Dracula was a direct-to-video feature that in 2005 is also the year Batman Begins came out. So this is intended as a additionally as a tie-in, as a loose tie-in to Batman Begins, and not in that it's the same universe or anything, but in the fact that hey, something else Batman related coming out to get it on the kids' minds. Hey, see Batman Begins.
And also the fact that it's like kind of not Max Theroux, but a young Bruce Wayne.
True. No Max Theroux, no Max Theroux. So basically, again, this is right after season 1, so it's still in that kind of that vein of like they're trying not to do like the Gordon, the bat signal, all the other stuff. They're
I gotta say, Gordon's absence was very noticeable this episode.
Yeah, and again, this is still during Batman's vigilante years, which could have been interesting. And I'll say this: they did have some good stuff. They had some other characters that were Gordon-like. Like he had a Ming-Na Wen, who's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, plays Melinda May. She was this character who was from Dark Knight Returns, actually. Ellen Yin.
A Gordon-like character on Batman. I'm sorry.
Remember from Dark Knight Returns, Commissioner Yin, or Ellen, remember the other commissioner from Dark Knight Returns, one who took Gordon's job?
Yeah.
That character was essentially kind of parodied in they did a version of her in The Batman, and she was really good. It was like she didn't trust Batman at first because she was friends with Bennett, and she lost Bennett, and she blamed Batman for it. And eventually the two of them worked together like Gordon. She got in trouble for it, and then in walks Gordon. Sorry, drifting off. The point is, after season 1, this direct-to-video comes out. It's also aired on TV in October, so it's mainly done as, all I can really find with folks is not a lot known about the production. So all I really know is that it was made as kind of a Halloween story because it was coming out in October, but also to promote kind of bat blood for kind of Batman Begins, get on people's minds.
Right.
The last thing I can mention about the kind of the origins of this is that it's, on some level, it has to be inspired by the Batman, Dracula, Red Rain, Elseworld stories, which is where Batman kind of becomes a vampire. That's where you get kind of that Elseworld story of Batman becoming a vampire, drinking people's blood that people really liked. And eventually, years and years down the line, we get us Justice League.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael C. Hall as the Kirk Langstrom Batman.
Of course.
And again, so this in some ways loosely kind of adapts. It's not an adaptation, but kind of loosely in the spirit of Batman versus Batman and Dracula in the books.
It's just one of those things that's just a cool idea. Like, it just looks cool on a poster.
Yeah, and I'm so glad this movie actually has some layers to it with the Batman Dracula stuff. It's not just like everyone will tell you, anyone who reviews this movie will always say, "Oh, when I heard the idea, it sounded like the stupidest thing I've ever heard." Batman versus it sounded like the cheesiest like monster fight you've ever heard of.
Right.
But no, there actually is some substance to this, and especially in those first two seasons, you need some good substance like this. I'm glad this kind of came out when it did.
Okay. Alrighty, so I guess with that, let's get into the commentary then.
Okay, let's count the folks up, and also I think we're going to really strive for this one to really keep it a conversation because I'm not sure how accessible this is to people. I mean, it's on YouTube for purchase, so I'm just trying to keep it loosey goosey. We'll get conversationally see if it works as a podcast over a commentary, but we'll see what.
As always, that's what we strive to do. Of course, is we strive to do a podcast first, commentary second. You don't necessarily have to be watching it to enjoy the conversation we're about to have. So, hopefully we'll be on our A game for that.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so folks, like I said, if you want to watch along, go along and get your copy of the film to timestamp 000. Dragon, you ready to go? All keyed up.
Yep, on go. We go on go. Like what, Lethal Weapon?
Yeah,
no, they say go on 3, but we're going to go on go.
Okay. So in 1, 2, 3, go! Go! Oh, that good old Warner Brothers jingle. Classic.
Same way the Mask of the Phantasm opens, by the way, with that Warner Brothers logo.
Bugs eating the carrot. I love Bugs in the classy tuxedo in that logo.
So this is great. Just kind of get you tonally into what they're going for here. Again, they're kind of going for just kind of your amalgam of like what you think of with Count Dracula, which I do think they are successful at. Like it's not any specific version, but it's kind of just classically Dracula.
There's definitely some references to the Lugosi Dracula that I'll get into that I really appreciated. But in general, I'm glad that they're not just trying to do a Lugosi impression. To tell you the truth, like the actual design of it is more kind of in the vein of, I know this is like a super obscure movie that no one likes, but Dracula 2000.
Well, actually, their main version for Dracula in this it's an amalgam of the Christopher Lee Dracula and Bela Lugosi. So I'm saying that's kind of they're going for a big Christopher Lee vibe, but I think mainly in the design. I could be wrong, but
I've got to admit I haven't seen very many Christopher Lee era horror films. That's one of the eras that I really need to catch myself up on, is the Christopher Lee era.
Well, neither have I.
I've seen a lot of the old school, like Universal ones, and of course I've seen a lot of the modern horror movies. I'm kind of a horror movie chore right now, but or not a chore, but a horror movie connoisseur. I'm sorry, chore would imply that I actually make horror movies. Well, I did make Cloverdale, Dragon. I did put together film and edit a film that actually exists somewhere, so there's that. Anyways.
Sam Liu, he's a big Batman. Brandon Vitti, those two are big names. Like one of them went on to do Young Justice. The other, he also did Young Justice, but also various of the DC direct-to-video animated films.
Okay, so nice cold open here in Arkham. One of the things I really do appreciate about the design of this show is the backgrounds, Dragon. I love the backgrounds.
Yeah, they're going for a very, basically they're kind of going for, like, I can call it urban Gothic. It's like they amalgam like various kind of like the Chicago primarily along with like Gothic castles and the structures. Like they go really tall, really kind of like extended.
Yeah.
That's the ventriloquist in the foreground, by the way. Got the glasses, who was like in the very left of it. Just so you know, I mean, it's a very, if you hadn't watched the show, you wouldn't know because he doesn't have the dummy on his hand. But sure. I love that what they strive for in Arkham here is that they make it look kind of like almost like a Florida retirement home, in that it's a place that if you were there day in, day out, you actually might go crazy just of like kind of the routine of it all. It seems, it feels very uncomfortable, doesn't it? It looks hot, looks really kind of crowded.
Of course, you got to love this homage to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest here.
Certainly, especially just mentioning Cuckoo to a Penguin.
Thrown in there, like, hey, let's have Jack Nicholson in Arkham.
Yeah. Just so you know, I always disagree with Penguin being put in Arkham.
Do you?
I mean, aside from the bird fixation, Penguin shouldn't be in Arkham. He's always like, usually he's in Blackgaze in a prison. Even with this version, I still don't think Arkham's the place for him. They kind of, for simplification for the kids' sake, streamline him for plot reasons. Let's keep him in Arkham. We never really see him go to Arkham except here, so I mean, might as well just assume he always goes to Arkham.
But seriously, I love how they just. I'd like to think that the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest thing is kind of just like an homage to another literary classic, because we're about to get into Dracula, which is, of course, a much more like big legacy of a literary classic, whereas One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is more modern.
Well, it's like I told you, there's that great Arkham story, Arkham Asylum Living Hell, where they do. You remember the great white shark goes in there, and they were actually working with kind of the Begins idea also.
I actually think I have read that. I'm pretty sure I've read that story in the past, the great white shark one.
Well, it's also getting that kind of that Begins idea to kind of tie in the two, is that you get less time on your sentence if you go to the insane asylum.
Right. Okay. Like the voice of the Joker, do not dig the design at all. And I know this is the improved design, Dragon, but I still don't dig it.
That's fair. A lot of people are mixed on it too. Again,
I couldn't imagine the hate that this design got when it was first released.
You couldn't believe it. The first one was worse. That's what I'm talking about. The first one was
right.
The eyes looked a little worse. It was yeah, and then also this version of the Penguin, he's really good at jiu-jitsu and stuff. That's why he's kind of hopping and kicking the guy around like this. Okay. So by the way, I just want to mention I do like kind of the classic horror movie pretense of like they're going after a mob treasure. It's kind of like the. It's like whatever gets your first victims to the spot where they get taken. It's like, hey, let's. It's like when the kids go to make out in the cabin or something. It's like it's kind of your horror movie pretense. I also do like the fun build for the Joker that we had to. Like, oh.
I said this off air, but I really do think the backgrounds kind of resemble the Hellboy comic in a lot of ways. I doubt that's an intentional homage, but stylistically, that's kind of what I read into it a little bit.
But that's a glimpse at the original design, by the way, of the Joker.
And also, vaguely enough, oddly enough, it kind of also reminds me of 101 Dalmatians a little bit. I know that's a really odd comparison, but the line work kind of reminds me of 101 Dalmatians and the buildings, like kind of the rough kind of pencil lines in the buildings.
I gotta watch 101 Dalmatians to get that.
I know it's a bizarre comparison. I know it's like a bizarre out of nowhere comparison. So
let me mention this. So again, I like this. This is a reference to kind of the classic kind of Penguin Joker team ups. Famously in Scooby Doo when they teamed up in their skeleton costumes and everything. Remember that?
Oh my God, yes. We should cover that episode at some point.
Maybe the next Halloween thing we do.
Because we already covered the Johnny Bravo Scooby Doo one.
Anyway, so what I love to mention is that especially get to see this in kind of one of the Snyder comics too, is like just the idea in this period that those two working together would never end well. Like they're kind of addressing that when you see it, like in the animated. So like these two working together again, because Penguin, you even see it a little bit of it hinted at in Gotham of like Penguin would never work with the Joker. Joker's too unreliable. He's crazy. He'll turn on you in a second. He just doesn't feel like it. These two would never work together well. It's like they addressed that right off the bat.
The hair is like the main thing that I don't like about the Joker.
Well, some people look at it as like it's a jester's hat for hair. It's kind of fun.
I get that. Yeah, it's just like it might just be because I fear change. Granted, but it's just too different for me.
I just think there's a missed opportunity here of like if you look at Joker again, worse like in a straitjacket and everything beforehand. If you looked at Joker as kind of reflecting like unhinged madness in the beginning, that would get a little more kind of refined and a little bit more kind of like a little more kind of internalized over time to kind of like the Joker, where it's scary because you don't know what he's going to do over time. But again, they didn't really play with that, so I can't really speak to it. I just like the fact they kind of cleaned him, made him look like kind of met us in the middle with this design. That's what I like. But let's not dwell on the Joker's look, because there are other seasons for that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there are. This is a good selection for Halloween Hijinks. It's not necessarily a Halloween episode, but it does kind of have a lot of that spooky atmosphere that we like. A lot of good shadow work.
Pretty Halloween related. I don't know.
What?
Dracula seems pretty Halloween related.
Well, I'm just saying you don't see the actual holiday.
All right.
I mean, I would wager to say this probably feels more like a Halloween story than the Long Halloween does, in spite of the Long Halloween actually taking place on Halloween. Yep. If that makes any sense.
There's Penguin's unlucky omen. Things just get worse for him as the movie goes on.
Right.
So let me mention this. I kind of had a revelation rewatching this movie, because, again, one of my favorite sequences is the whole Batman-Joker thing here, like when they're kind of fighting. And it kind of occurred to me that, oh, my God, this film might be like, if this is kind of going into it fresh, you can look at it as sort of like a thesis statement that this film is about Batman coming to grips with becoming a legend, becoming the iconic legend that Batman is. That's pretty much the thesis statement of this whole movie. It's kind of Batman coming to grips with, the things we all know Batman for, being kind of like, oh my god, it's the Batman. We know him for this stuff. Him fighting to the death with Joker over these sort of things.
Sure.
Classically, like they're getting into their classic rhythm right now. Joker escapes Arkham, Batman fights him. It's usually raining. Those things.
Yeah.
The classic kind of by the numbers showdown. It seems to be kind of like, I want to say it's kind of the first time we saw kind of like by the numbers version of this in the show. But taking it out of the show equation, just want to point again. I like that it all feeds into this thing. The whole movie kind of feeds into that idea that Batman it's all about the way Batman perceives himself as an ideal in terms of becoming Gotham's legend.
Yeah, and I definitely think the Dracula character and how they play that's probably the cleverest thing they do with Dracula, is kind of that whole legacy idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's also, we'll get into it later, but I think there's a lot of layers to this idea that it's also basically the legend would represent Batman. It's kind of Bruce coming to grips with, he meets in the middle of being Bruce and Batman. Batman representing the legend, and Bruce Wayne being kind of the man versus that. And I think they actually do like an interesting take on it, paralleling it with comparing it to Dracula. We'll get to that later.
Minor nitpick, very, very minor nitpick, but I don't think the actor playing Batman does enough to change his voice between Bruce Wayne and Batman. Is that fair? Is that fair to say?
I mean, there's a very subtle alteration, but you're right. It's not. There's not much of a change. I'll give you that. I'm just saying. I think
performance-wise, it's probably better than fucking Christian Bale, who goes like just way too over the top with it. I'm not going to even do the joke impression of Christian Bale. You know what I'm talking about, but
I will say this though. I do kind of like I like the subtlety of it. Like you get kind of sternness to this Batman, but.
Sure. I think the way Keaton delivered it, like the subtle changes Keaton did in his voice a bit.
Yeah. Also, I was really shocked initially. I'm surprised. It's really surprising that this film, it's PG, but it got like all this blood in it, though.
Yeah, it's very blood heavy. They don't shy away from that with the Dracula story, which is good.
You gotta remember, Batman the Animated Series, back no wrong, as free as that show was, they couldn't have vampirism at all on that show.
Because of the occult, I'm assuming.
I think it's, if not just the blood, it's just the idea of vampires really just rubbed the network the wrong way. It's like Spider-Man the Animated Series suffered most from because they had to use like plasma and stuff. They couldn't say blood. It was really ridiculous.
Oh God, really? They couldn't say blood?
Fox was a little worse on Spider-Man when that was going on. I could go on for hours on how censored Spider-Man the Animated Series was. Let's not. So yeah, I love kind of this cool monstrous Dracula design we got going.
It's a great look. Yeah.
And the blood POV run of like how he sees kind of the heart beating, kind of the blood vessels and everything. It's really a cool idea with Dracula. I've never really seen before. Because that's how he sees, and especially in his primal state. And the idea is like he's going after Penguin's heart right now because he just woke up. He desperately needs blood so he can sustain himself. Right now, he's just a droplet of blood just brought him back to life. He needs more so he can just still go around.
I am not entirely sure. Don't quote me on this. But I want to say the idea of Dracula reading people's heartbeats actually comes from the original book.
That's kind of a cool idea. I wouldn't be surprised if that's...
Yeah, I like I said, don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure on it, but it sounds like something that the original Dracula would do.
Okay, this moment's really good. It's a really good moment in this movie, is where it's kind of the age-old Joker escaping Death Runner kind of starts here. And again, importantly, I love that we start with the familiar. Again, kind of Batman.
As soon as I saw this, I was like, that fucker's not dead. Come on now.
Well, of course, but still, I love the way they play it here. Right. It seems like, okay, Joker's going to fall, he's going to be fine. But then again, he gets the crap shocked out of him. It looks pretty gruesome a way to go. I mean,
it does. Yeah, it's a very creative death as well. And I also like that it's kind of like the Joker's like own instruments, own weapons being used against him.
And again, this is like things that just define the Batman, like a young Batman. It's defining kind of his journey of like, okay, he's going to be going through this thing a lot, and it's also just kind of these are things just like in the Bible of Batman, so to speak. You fight Joker fakes his death constantly.
You hear that, Suicide Squad? Take notes.
But still, I love like the score is really good here too. It kind of drifts out and then the rain stops. It's a real somber moment for Batman. It's like the fact that he regrets Joker's demise and he feels responsible for it in some way.
Yeah, it's definitely a kind of a good way to do an emotional arc for Bruce for sure. Like you said, kind of a it's interesting that this series is almost, in some ways, I'm not saying it's exactly this, but it sounds like from what you're describing, it's a little bit kind of like Batman Year One, the series.
Well, I think they were trying for that, and again, that's in concept what they wanted to do, but they had some. Yeah, they were applying to kids at the same time, so they couldn't really go forward with that. I get a sense of it.
Sure.
But let me mention this though. I think that with that Joker scene we just saw, I think the real benefit to it with this movie is that you have a little more time to breathe in the process. We get Batman having those moments of internalization, which I think really helped the movie in terms of staying out over the series in places.
I can see that. Yeah.
Also, I want to mention this really idea that occurred to me rewatching this is that on some level, Gotham's greed and basically primally a need for Batman, a need to stop criminals. If you don't want to go the whole corruption of Gotham route, you can just go on a primal level. Okay, well, criminals trying to break into a crypt to get money. Hence, the need for Batman brings Dracula life. So a need for one Batman brings the need for another Batman.
So I'm not entirely sure when Dracula first brings it up in the movie, but you know that Children of the Night is a big reference to the original Lugosi version, right?
Yes.
The line...
that's later on. Yes.
Yeah, but I believe in the Lugosi version, it's right when the main character is first meeting Dracula, and Dracula comes out, and he's commenting on the wolves howling outside, and he's just like, listen, Children of the Night, what music they make. And I believe that's the introduction to the Lugosi Dracula, is that line.
Yep. I think so. I think you're right about that. And Penguins lucked out big time that the hungry vampire found another meal. He's very lucky. Oh, yeah. Otherwise, again, that's the only reason Penguin's been. I do like the rationale for the Dracula hypnotizing Penguin instead of biting him because he needs a human servant, so he can go out in the daylight and make sure all his affairs are in order and everything.
So I must say, I think Alfred Pennyworth is one of the most consistently well-written characters in the history of fiction. Because I have never seen a bad Alfred. Like, this Alfred is good, Like, I've literally never seen a bad Alfred. Yeah. Hell, Alfred is probably the best thing about fucking Batman and Robin.
What are you seeing right now?
What am I seeing?
Yeah, what are you seeing?
Well, it was just in the Batcave, but now it's back to Dracula and Penguin.
Well, I think we're off sync.
Oh, joy.
Yeah.
I'm in the flashback right now.
In the flashback?
I'm in the Transylvania flashback.
Tell me you're not watching this on YouTube.
No, I'm not watching it on YouTube, no.
Okay, I'm about to fast forward to the flashback, so we'll see where that goes. Anyway.
Do you want to get like a timestamp going, or what?
What's your timestamp?
Right now, I'm 1630, 31, 32, etc.
Tell me when you're at 1705.
1705. All right, I've got about 20 minutes, or 20 seconds to go. 20 minutes. Well, just about 20 minutes, and you should be good. The night is young, and still I thirst. I love the fade out of the city on Dracula's eyes. That's a shot I just passed up. Okay, let's see. About 5 more seconds. 1701, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go.
Wait, so are you still in the flashback?
No, right now
we are really off sync.
What version are you using?
Well, I'm using DVD. It's probably why. Okay, now.
Oh God.
Anyway,
right now I'm on Bruce and Vicki.
Okay, I'll get there. Let's just talk about the film.
Oh dear, let's just be as general as possible with this, I guess.
It's the best we're going to be able to do here. Anyway, sorry about that, folks.
Let this be a lesson to us to make it as general as possible and not go specifically by scene.
Anyway, so we meet Vicki Vale. We get a glimpse at the romance Bruce Wayne misses out on, but he still does want. I like that we do. And here's what I'm going with the thesis here. We're seeing the divide between Bruce Wayne and Batman. There is kind of a divide in this version of Bruce's arc is kind of realizing that he's a meeting. The classic thing if he is a meeting between the two guys, not just there are various different versions. The animated series is he's Batman puts on the mask of Bruce Wayne. In this show, it's kind of like, Bruce Wayne does exist, and he hasn't quite. I think over time he would develop more of a cynical view on things because he's so green into it right now.
You know what I did pick up on? A subtle little detail I picked up on is the fact that Bruce refers to the Batman in the third person.
Yeah.
I like that detail.
Yeah. Also, I like the idea of this is really like on a simple level of Batman. Bruce picking a restaurant with a view so he can watch the city. I just love that idea.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun.
Yeah, but seriously, again, like the divide, like it's kind of a runner throughout this whole thing of like Bruce Wayne as that, yeah, as that light side. Again, he's kind of associated with the light. Bruce Wayne goes out in the daytime, Batman goes out in the nighttime. Again, there's kind of like a symbolism going there. When Dracula kind of brings up the comparison, it's really going to be apparent there. Also, I love the simplicity of Alfred polishing the silverware in the following scene.
I also love Alfred's role in this, where he's a lot like the Gotham version of Alfred, where his main kind of motivator is getting Bruce Wayne to kind of have a semi-normal life. He's just like, why don't you go out with that nice Vale girl? You should really return Vicky's call,
Yeah, he's not as assaultive.
How will you get over that?
No. I don't mean. I mean, like, he's not smashing computers to say it's for your own good. That's what.
Oh God. Okay, I thought you were going to make another jab.
No. But the shot that's just passed, I really want to talk about again with that whole kind of Bruce and the Batman associations. That in the shadows he's talking as Batman, but he steps out of the shadows, out of the silhouette in the shadow. I mean, this is all Bruce Wayne. He steps out of the shadows, then he talks as Bruce Wayne's talking about Vicki Vale. Again, it's kind of the vision's right there visually on screen. I love that.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I love that Bruce he's determined not to lose anyone else. Again, feeling the guilt of Joker. In an earlier scene as well, like when he's brooding. So you're brooding more than usual. Oh yeah. Again, classic Batman setup here. It's kind of Batman watching Gotham, watching on the prowl, and seeing what's going on. The classic purse snatching in Gotham going on here.
Sure. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about Dracula having an army of undead people.
I like that they address it, though, the fact that later on, it's like they address that there's a possibility people could be drained of their blood, but he hasn't done that yet. He's still trying to amass like an army of servants, and
I mean, it's fine. It doesn't take away from the movie, but I just feel like you don't really need it when you have a character as larger than life as Dracula. I feel like you just literally just have Dracula without the army, just on his own.
Well, the main complaint this movie has gotten is that the vampires, and this is like a story thing. You have to have this, otherwise the story's not going to work. Is that I love the conceit of vampirism later on, like it's kind of played as like a blood disease later on.
I mean, to tell you the truth, that's a little too similar to zombies for me.
That's what I was just about to get into. Is that
okay.
Vampirism,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Vampirism conceit is a clever way of avoiding kind of the death and and giving some minions, like Batman fighting people that he still wants to save at the same time. It's kind of taking care of like, where are these people going? It's making use of them. However, they don't retain a personality. Well, Joker later on will. That's actually how vampirism works, the way Joker is later on. However, with our zombie, again, the rest of you guys are kind of zombies. The story reason for that is because otherwise it'd be too many characters to keep track of if they all had personality.
It also would be a little bit horrific for Bruce Wayne to be fighting like these personalities of innocent people. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I mean, it's kind of it's kind of your miracle exception. Well,
like that could be something I could see Scott Snyder writing really well, but not something necessarily for a kid show.
Well, I can't exactly tell you that.
Oh dear.
Maybe he has.
Ooh, maybe.
He does have a book series called American Vampire.
Okay, nice.
I think that's his. Or is it Americans? There's so many American this or that.
American Horror Story.
No, it's vampire. I'm pretty sure it's vampire.
Anyway. American Vampire, Werewolf, Dracula, Mummy, Frankenstein Story. All right, I'm being goofy.
Let me mention this with Drake because he's about to come up soon. Because right now we have Batman kind of doing some fighting, some awesome fighting against these vampires. And again, I like that he kind of looks back to because he's afraid, because he's lost people, doesn't want anyone to get killed.
Sure.
Draco is voiced by the wonderful Peter Stormare. I love Peter Stormare, really good actor. He's been on the blacklist. He's the second Count in Vertigo on Arrow. That's where people might have seen him if anyone was watching Arrow. He's really good. He's kind of I forget if he's Belgian or not, but he has he's from somewhere. He has this great he has a wonderful accent. He brings kind of like the foreign bag. He's the awesome foreign bag guy. He just always has a great presence to him though, and he does an excellent job as Dracula. He's not playing him over the top, but at the very least, Dracula has some over the top lines in this, but they're delivered with great conviction. Like right here, he's genuinely intrigued by the impact of his legacy on Batman, seemingly, and intentional or not, he's still intrigued by the similarities between him and Batman. Again, it's like they really build up. Like Dracula, initially, he has like a great deal of respect for Batman. What he's done, he's intrigued by him.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. That's one of the things that really stands out with the special is the whole idea of Dracula's legacy influencing Batman. I mean, to tell you the truth, when I first heard of the conceit of Dracula versus Batman, my first reaction wasn't necessarily like, "Oh, haha, that's such a ridiculous premise." My first reaction is that's kind of cool because I could see where Batman would be influenced by Dracula.
Yeah.
And so, in that regard, I feel like when they explore that idea in the special, they do it really well.
Yeah. Also, I love in the scene it's kind of past. So we had Alfred's kind of skepticism, which in a way it serves a very strategic story purpose. Of like Alfred's skepticism represents kind of classic Batman. Like, okay, we've seen people wear costumes and everything be mutated, and they kind of have vampire bat like feature, man bat for example. We've seen people have like these
Right,
features and stuff. It's kind of addressed by Alfred. Maybe it's not actually a vampire. And the fact that it's before one urban legend becomes obsessed with another. Again, the point that Alfred has some skepticism, which later on he will be on board after he sees proof.
I love that line though. Before one urban legend becomes obsessed with another, I feel like that's a good kind of
that's the crux of the movie.
Put that on the back of the box, put that
absolutely
on the DVD box.
That'd be the perfect trailer line to go out on.
Right.
Now I believe they had like the whole "My Children of the Undead" or something.
I mean, I am like at the party now, so I am way ahead of
Christ.
I don't know.
I think your version's sped up. I'm convinced
you so. That could be it. Let me ask you this: how long is your version?
Mine is an hour with credits. Mine is an hour and 23 minutes and 22 seconds.
That explains it because mine is an hour and 19 minutes and 55 seconds. There you go. There you go. Wonderful.
Just perfect.
Well, we're almost halfway through it, so.
Oh, we have. I love Alfred as the serving captain. It's very fun, Mr. Stipes.
Right.
I love the prim and proper Alfred. He's still in control. Again, it's like basically what they did is they made this Alfred. I don't want to say more sardonic, but they kind of gave him. I don't know. They gave Alfred more stuff to do. In the animated series, he was always there when you need him to be. This Alfred, he kind of has his own. We see what he's doing on the side a little more.
That's the impression I got. Yeah, he definitely kind of has his own side story going on, which is good. He's kind of he's at the party. He's a presence. He's actually just doing his job. He's not necessarily just there because Bruce needs him to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, a lot of people have the big kind of right on the nose issue people have is like, how does Batman not know Dr. Alucard is Dracula backwards? How does he not know?
Like, he literally has to, like, draw it on a piece of paper and then spell it out on the mirror. He has to borrow the poor lady's lipstick to do that.
And look, I'm going to meet people halfway on this. I'm going to say, look, it really could have used an acknowledgement of like it really could use
greatest detective here, folks. World's greatest detective.
But here's the thing: it really could have used the acknowledgement of like, okay, well, it's kind of funny, Alucard Dracula backwards or something along the lines like, I assume you're a fan of the book, or your parents were a fan of the Dracula book or something. Like a little one-liner would have been really good. But I think I'm operating with the logic that he says he's Eastern European and. Maybe that's like in the cover, with the cover story, he's kind of figuring, okay, maybe Alucard's like his foreign name of some kind. But later on, is an overreaction. He's writing it on the plate. It's a sort of dramatic.
Think that's probably the silliest moment in the whole movie. I think
it is, but it's kind of a cool reveal, though. Like out of context, that's a cool reveal.
But it's just like the fact that he has to like go out of his way to borrow that woman's lipstick and everything. Yeah.
I do love, and let me mention. I love Stomayer in this scene here. Again, as the kind of the high society Dracula. This is very much Dracula. He's very much a parallel of Bruce Wayne here. Is that he is putting up like Batman again. If Dracula represents Batman, that he's the ideology that Batman is similar to. Again, look at Batman and Bruce Wayne as separate entities here. Is that like Batman, as we see in the animated series, like look at Batman and then Bruce Wayne is the facade. That's what Dracula's doing right here. Alucard is the facade. It's not really a big character thing with Dracula. It's like, he's just a little face. He's putting on some flesh because otherwise they're like all scary vampire underneath.
I mean, it is a big character thing with Dracula. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure in the original book, Dracula was way more kind of grotesque on the outset, and that was a kind of a change that they made for the modern interpretations of Dracula. Yeah. But let's just say in the Lugosi version, I definitely see what you're going for there, because the Lugosi version, he's very much like kind of the prim and proper kind of, just the guy who's entertaining his guests and everything and wanting to make a good appearance with people. And then, of course, we all know what he's doing behind the scenes, and that's what makes that movie what it is, is Lugosi kind of having that great charming presence about him that's so good that even though we know, what he's doing, we know the plot, he's still like, God damn it, he's so charming. It's like I can't help but root for him.
Yep. Anyway, I love the, again, we're completely off sync with the folks at home, just so they know, so we're sorry about that, folks. So, but we have to keep it general now, because we've completely screwed everything up.
Next time we do a commentary track, we'll definitely, make sure that we have the right time, the same timestamp and everything, so.
Yeah, because it's just now occurred to me that even if they were following along with what I sped mine up, just so I thought I could meet yours, so we're completely off.
Oh, good luck.
So I feel bad for those poor saps at home, but just go along with us, folks.
Right.
Anyway, just again, we're kind of trying to keep it general. The conversation is kind of in a sequence of scenes, if we can.
Which is how a commentary podcast should go in the first place. So I feel like this situation is just kind of keeping us on guard in that respect.
So yeah, the Stipes wine cellar thing. It's such a kind of a. Again, Alfred's just like Stipes. Like it seems like a little comedy interaction that turns horrific. Like, oh no, Stipes! He's been chowed down by Dracula.
Mm.
That was the touch, like the red wine kind of splashing against the ground. Old Dracula's POV when he finds Stipes. It's all really cool things there. And we have kind of we have a few cheesy lines here and there. I think Dracula legitimizes all of his, but then we have Alfred saying, "This time, Mr. Stipes, I'm out for blood."
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, kind of on the nose.
Basically, this feels like kind of like the Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. Alfred, like a little more teeth, a little more kind of comedy to play with.
And
again, I do love the reveal. It's such a great reveal of Alfred realizing, oh my, just in the
great loud in the ear. Yeah.
As a cool reveal, it's like Alfred realizing, okay, my skepticism is now void. I'm sorry.
You're right. This is definitely not just someone playing an elaborate hoax.
Oh yeah. And yeah, the lipstick is a little silly, but again, it's a cool reveal.
I mean, it's just he just grabs it out of the lady's hand practically.
I mean, it's the fact that he needed to spell it. That's the thing. That's
exactly.
It's less the lipstick. It's less the lipstick. At his party, he was a wild party animal. Reportedly in the newspapers. Who cares? My point is, the fact that he has to write it down. I mean, if Batman's the best version of ourselves, I'd like to think I wouldn't be so crippled. I need to write it down to see what it looks like.
I mean, you would think maybe and he needs to hold it up to the mirror too. It's I would say maybe halfway through writing it down, it would click.
He's doing that purely just so we can have a cool shot. He's doing that for the director right now. He's doing that for Sam Raimi from that Spider-Man mirror shot. That's what he's doing. Anyway. Right. So again, I like that following the scene. Now they're in the Batcave, and he's kind of they say, okay, the Dracula is real. We know this for a fact now. And he's at the party, and he turned into a bat. We didn't see that, but bat flew out. Convenient, don't you think? Anyway, so I love that he's acknowledging in this scene that he has not slain anyone yet, so there's still a threat that after he's done, basically spreading the virus. Which it occurred to me, Tiki. I love this idea that it's kind of an idea that it's a new form of corruption for Gotham in a way. It's a form of corruption in plaguing Gotham in a viral sense. Again, it's vampirism spreading through Gotham. It's corrupting the citizens.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In terms of kind of your greasing palms corruption that we're usually used to. It's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I tell you, I really love the use of. I love how they work Thomas Wayne into the story here. Is that the idea that Thomas Wayne is he's the best medical library in Gotham, and it's looking at vampirism as a blood disease. It was a very clever idea, and it also very much it complements this thesis, Tiki, of Bruce Wayne. Again, he's going to his parents. He's looking for the reasons. Later on, Drag's going to kind of challenge this when he has his nightmare sequence later on, but. Where Bruce Wayne, again, he's kind of looking to his family. His arc is going to culminate him realizing he was doing this, not just realizing he's doing it for his parents, but being reminded that he does this for his parents, not out of some sick tribute for Dracula. He's deep down a creature of the night. None of that. It's the fact that he's remembering that he at the core of Batman is a man, is Bruce Wayne.
They've never had any Batman origin stories where they go to see Dracula the night his parents get killed, do they?
No,
that's never happened.
No, again, maybe in that Red Rain thing, that's an Elseworlds, so I haven't seen it though. So
that'd be a really cool idea to do that. I mean, granted, Mask of Zorro also makes sense.
I'm saying you need the mask
on the nose. Yeah,
primarily you need the mask, but then again, the bat thing, I don't know. It's
You're right.
So yeah, I like that Vicki Vale's like an actual character in this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, she kind of skirts the line of Damsel, not as nearly as bad as in '89, not nearly as bad as in that.
No. I actually think Vicki Vale is pretty well executed here.
Yeah, man, I like that she's not in like a love triangle with Dracula or something. She's not like Dracula like is suddenly a lovesick puppy or anything. He's just
I could just see that happening too. That would be so. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go that route.
Yeah, and I kind of like that she doesn't get with Bruce Wayne in the end. You know, it's kind of a somber ending with her too. It's like, you know, she went through.
Dracula does get to kind of like have his scene with her, you know, trying to charm her.
Yeah, and again, we're going to see it's charming or not specifically for for her, but more for her body, quite literally.
Right.
I love Alfred's sitcom moment. I think is about to happen.
Oh God!
I'm sorry, it just passed. I guess we're kind of unlinear here. It's where Alfred has that. Well, there's a spit take.
The past is the future, and the future is the past. Time is all. Go ahead.
Always Alfred has that great moment. Says, "Well, that puts a kink in the relationship." Such a sitcom moment for Alfred.
You could just hear like a laugh track, and then a freeze frame, and like a smooth jazz outro. You know.
Yep. And I tell you, it's the fact that Dracula's seeking a bride, not as a relationship with Vale. Like, oh my God, Peter Stormare, way he delivers these lines and just says like, even her name has an air of mystery to it. Vale.
I think that line is a little. It's not stupid, but it's a little.
I'm saying I think the conviction sells you on some silly lines.
Yeah, it is well delivered.
I give it a pass. I'm just saying.
I'll give it a pass too. I'm just saying it is you've got to admit it's a little cheesy.
Let me say, look at the way he's staring intently at that screen in that scene. It's pretty. It's pretty.
Right.
Let's see. I love the garlic enhancements, courtesy of Alfred. Very strategic, and they do come in handy.
Yeah, they do. That's great.
I love this.
Also, I like how we got the foreshadowing to the sunlight machine in the party.
Yeah, the SL5, very useful. And again, also important. I'm going to get to this when it pays off too. Something that Bruce Wayne Enterprises, again, the Bruce Wayne side of things, provided, not Batman.
Exactly. Good point.
Again, now this is a very year one influence scene, as well as Batman Mask of the Phantasm, but even that scene was borrowing heavily from year one. The point is, it's a very year one inspired scene where the cops are going to the cemetery. Basically, it's like, what if you had year one, but also you had Dracula helping Batman take out the guys?
Right.
Yep. Also, I love, it hasn't, I don't know, maybe it has or has not happened yet, but I love the symbolism of the shadows. So there's a great payoff, Tiki. I don't know if you noticed it when you watch it.
I'm in the shadows right now. I don't know if you are.
I'm not.
Okay, there you go.
My point is, as I fast forward to hopefully gain control over my fledgling world, what I love about the shadow symbolism is that right now, again, the Dracula's shadow is overcasting Batman, and later on it's going to be the reverse of that, just showing, like, again, the kind of Dracula's myth has survived longer. Right now, it's kind of more powerful, and that's what's looming over Batman's head, wondering, like, on some level, is there any credence, like me being similar to Dracula?
And I'm watching it right now, and there's actually kind of a good layer of you're not sure if it's Batman or Dracula taking the cops out.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think Batman's taking them out. I think it's all Dracula taking them out.
No, it is all Dracula. I'm saying, but I'm saying it's played where it could be either one of them taking them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, it's just kind of a cool, like, visual way to show that we're not so different, you and I. I have the same tactics you do. I also hide in the shadows.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got to the shot with Dracula on the moon, so just for reference, that's a shot.
Yeah, but again, I love the respect he has for Batman. There's like a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of layers to what how Dracula operates. Like when Batman says, you and I were not like I don't attack people. I don't kill people. Basically, nearly kill people. I don't harm people the way you do. He says, I hate to waste a life. I love the idea of Dracula. He hates to waste a life. That's when it could be in service to me. So it's like a strategic reason why he's not just like indiscriminately killing people. So on some level, Batman, at least respect the fact that he's not killing these guys on a permanent basis.
Right.
So there's just like a cure. He could still, on some level, he's kind of admiring that. Okay, thankfully he's not killing them, so that means they can be brought back.
Hmm.
And again,
Good
sorry.
fight scene here. A lot of some good uses of slow-mo.
Oh yeah, and the action's really good in this movie. So especially this scene and later on with the Joker, they're probably the best fight scenes in the whole thing.
The one with the Joker, the only thing that kind of bothers me about that scene is how and granted, I know that the Joker is under the vampire influence, but he actively wants to kill Batman in that scene.
Well, more like drink his blood.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I'll give it a pass because he's under the vampire influence.
Yeah. Anyway, let me say this again. I love that. Also, again, Dracula views vampirism as a way of improving people. You give them to be vampires, the enhanced strength, senses, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as we see in that fight scene, it's really brutal. Again, I love that they kind of make Dracula an actual kind of physical threat. Usually, it's like the implication of what he can do to you, less than him in a physical fight.
Right.
The vampirism kind of enhancing. Yeah.
There's a lot of cool visuals to his fighting style here, like the cape and the kind of the teleportation, not really teleportation, but just switching from one place to another. I don't know exactly how you describe it, but and also I like how when we first see Dracula, when he first comes out of the tomb, you can kind of see his body's. It's disproportionate, but it's well built. You know what I mean? It's like he's not a weak guy.
Yeah. And again, I love the whole, Dracula views vampirism as a way of improving people, and that's similar in some ways. It's like a reflection of Batman's goal of doing the same thing, improving people, through seeking justice, improving people's faith in law and order, all that stuff. Again, improving kind of the condition of Gotham instead of improving it through vampirism. Again, it's a perverted way of what Batman's going for through Dracula. Like, I'm going to make people better. I'm going to make them vampires.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, I just love that. Again, Dracula, even after this fight, again, you'll notice throughout this whole fight, again, Dracula has all the power. He's not getting a hit on him really, and he's basically he just slams Batman into the ground at some point, cuts the rope, and he offers
an effective strategy, just kind of making Batman kind of chase a wild goose, around the.
Yeah, because he still doesn't want to hurt him. He's trying. His last thing he does, he offers him a chance to join him, and then he's shot down. After that, then the next time they meet, then it's an actual fight between the two of them. It's just Dracula not trying to fight Batman; he's trying to talk to him.
Right.
And again, I love that in his last moments as he was fading away in the shadows, which is really awesome. I love this Dracula offering kind of well, thank you for keeping my legacy alive. But now there's only room for one Batman in Gotham. Just love the genuine thank you for keeping my legacy alive. There's some genuine pleasantness there.
Sure.
Now, in the dream sequence is very important, I think. The fact
because I feel maybe it's just because it's we're seeing the Wayne murder yet again for the millionth time.
Well, let me tell you why I think there's more layers to it here than before. Okay. Aside from the fact Batman turns into a vampire.
Yeah, the pearl, I get it. He's kneeling at the sidewalk. Yeah, I get it.
But seriously, follow me on this.
All right. I'm sorry.
Dream, I think. It's kind of occurred to me, looking at the more analytical level on reviewing for this thing, that the dream reflects on the symbol Bruce chose. It's again the cloaked rider. Again, this flashback you can go into the movies again that the influence how he became Batman. Again, kind of that Mark of Zorro-esque figure, and especially later on with the bat in the cave and the bat crashing through the window right now. Again, that's him picking his symbol. And that's
the bat crashing through the window, and then the perverse vampiric version of Batman. That is all very much kind of Cordoval's-esque to me.
And you see what I'm saying there, Tiki? I'm seeing that he's confronted in that the nightmare is all about him thinking that, again, he's like the son of Dracula in a way, and that his legend, his myth, is honoring. Basically, he's honoring the myth of Dracula instead of his parents, and that's the whole symbolism of that thing. That he is not. Okay. He is not Bruce Wayne honoring his parents. He's just honoring kind of this dark, kind of demon-like symbol of the bat in a way. It's kind of completely off base of what he wants to do, and that haunts him. That's why he's haunted by the parents thing. It's not just hey, we need to be reminded of the dream. I think they're generally going for
I think it is a little bit of that. Just a little bit.
I'm saying there is some sort of conceit they have to remind the newcomers and the kids, because they never showed it on the show. That's why.
Uh-huh.
They showed the aftermath once, and this is the first time they actually showed the origin going down.
I guess that's forgivable then, if it's the one time we see it in this particular incarnation.
Yeah, basically, last time was Alfred meeting him at the police station afterwards, and this is the first time I've seen the murder go down.
Okay.
But you see what I'm saying? I think there's at least there's more levels to it than it was, and it's just instead of we've seen this 100 times before.
Do you agree that the part where the bat crashes through the window is kind of Court of Owls-esque?
Well, remember, that's just that. Even that from Court of Owls, it's always been the bat crashes through the window from year one.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
It's more year one than Court of Owls. It's like the owl eating the bat, though. That's very Court of Owls.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, it's Joker it's kind of a fun reverse of Joker throwing a wrench in plans as he always does, but kind of with the vampire twist is that it seems, Joker's the victim at first, but nope, he's going to be. We soon see that he is still Joker on a very fundamental level. He's still the Joker, but now he's a vampire. So what's worse than the Joker? Let's make him a vampire. Oh my God, that's terrifying.
When I first watched this today, I was like, oh no. Oh, are they going there? Are they going vampire Joker? Yes, they're going vampire Joker. That's great. Because when he first gets pulled in, I was kind of shocked at first. I was like, oh no. Oh dear.
Oh yeah. I still think the blood bank scene is still probably the best scene in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Again, the only thing scarier than Joker is vampire Joker. And the way they got away with all this blood coming up is they were allowed to go nuts with the blood because they dimmed the lighting and made it look very black and gray pretty much.
Yeah, I did.
That's the only reason they were allowed to have literally blood rain down on the Joker. But I love the action in that sequence. I love kind of like the old Western vibe when the Joker, he's like grabbing 2 vials of blood and like drinking them all as he's like evading shells and stuff. It's a really cool sequence. Then we have kind of the real creepy crawling up walls like a spider. It's just so bizarre. It's a really intense sequence because the way they're going in this series, like it's like a Joker's like unbridled chaos. There's actually kind of a physical force to Batman over just kind of like your knife wielding kind of like weapon, like your slippery Joker you usually have. It's like he's actually packs a wall up with Batman. I mean, and now he's a vampire, so he's even more.
I would
dangerous.
wager to say that's almost kind of like a similar thing that they wanted to do with Leto's Joker before the studio hacked that to pieces. Is kind of the more physically imposing Joker.
Well, we gotta wait to see for that one on the extended cut.
I honestly did not think we'd get an extended cut for that. So
I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be 3 hours like I hoped, but it will. We'll see.
Right. Oh God.
But seriously, this is a really cool sequence. I want to say, if I were to guess, I want to say this is Sam Liu's sequence, but I could be wrong. It could be one of the other. Basically, the way they don't just have one director, they have directors of sequences in this thing. This is definitely a sequence that would require really intricate directing, I would assume. It's like the bloodiest Batman fight you'll ever see.
It really is, man. I mean, even like some of the comic stuff isn't as literally bloody as some of this, And
again, it's PG for the kiddies.
PG. Oh, yeah.
A
family picture.
You're the second Batman I've seen today, and you're both a pain in the neck. Oh yeah, really. Yeah. Kevin Michael Richardson. He's a different Joker, but my God, he's a talented Joker. I'll give him that.
I will give it that. I like the fact that the voice is absolutely not trying to do a Mark Hamill impression, because that is one of the issues I have with a lot of the post-Hamill Jokers, is it's all just kind of trying to recapture that magic instead of trying to. Right, there are exceptions. Like I'm a big fan of the Emerson Joker.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
yeah, but no, just in general, I feel like Mark Hamill just kind of casts a big shadow over the character. So I will give Kevin Michael Richardson some credit. He did, he was trying something very different, and the design kind of shows that as well.
So what sequence are you on now?
Oh, dear God. Bruce is at the computer analyzing DNA. The DNA is Joker with blood cells.
Let's just move on in the conversation. Just want to know where to approximate our conversation.
Okay.
Let me say this. I do love the idea of a Joker in the Batcave as it's like he's kept strategically all the way down there, so he has no way of knowing who Batman is and everything. But it's the idea that Batman, in a way, is offered a second chance to save the Joker. He felt so bad about Joker meeting his demise at first. Now he's back.
Yeah, that is a very good conceit for sure.
And in the process, not only is he saving Joker, he's also getting a chance to save the lost ones. When he finds the other vampires, he's going to be able to cure them thanks to the Joker in a way. So Joker's going to be doing good whether he likes it or not.
Exactly. The Joker's kind of like the inadvertent hero in the whole situation. Yeah.
I love, there's a very subtle, it's probably not intentional, but to me it always reminds me of when Bruce has the gloves off and he has the mask down, which, by the way, I think that, again, Tiki, I think it's all kind of, I might be reading into it on this one, but I like to think that mainly in this scene, Bruce Wayne is finding that cure. The mask is down. He's finding that cure. He's, again, Bruce Wayne's the guy who's going to save the day in this for the most part.
Right, right.
And I love this. It's kind of an homage to the origin, where the origin is like a bunch of panels, like Batman's holding up a big weight. Then he's like, as a scientist and working with chemicals. It's a famous first page of Batman.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It always kind of reminds you when he's holding up the test tubes like that. And goggles. It's like, oh yeah, it's like that one scientist Batman panel we got way back when.
Oh dear. Oh, the Joker just smelling Batman's blood.
Yeah.
I can smell that precious nectar pumping through your veins. Oh,
so creepy. I love, we do have some setup to the whole Carmilla Karstein and the Vicki Vale foreshadow, like that's Dracula's bride, and now Dracula's seeking the new bride, so now Batman's a little bit onto this, so like they were kind of laying the seeds there about what's going to happen.
Right, right. A lot of good foreshadowing kind of spread throughout this movie.
Yep. And then Vicki shows up at the worst possible time.
Yeah. But
it was on
bad for Vicki. I just want to say that she's just such a trooper in this scene.
And also voiced by the wonderful Tara Strong.
I did notice that. Yeah, of course.
Again, I mean, if you really want to look at it, again, the shadow's kind of extending there. Bruce Wayne's getting an opportunity to shine. Again, it's like Bruce Wayne, this light machine is going to be very big in the end. It's all kind of powering through that. Okay,
this is probably the funniest bit in the whole movie is Alfred hiding the garlic.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I'm sorry if this is kind of obscure, but the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie towards the beginning where the governor breaks the little light thing on the wall and hides it in the planter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, so this Joker, it's basically like heroin, a heroin addiction with the blood.
Yes. My favorite bit's coming up, so I'm just going to talk about it in a moment because I know we're not going to be synced up for it. right now, I think he's about to eat the bug or something as Batman's dropping by.
The bug on my end. That just happened, so.
My God, yours is like the Flash. But,
dude, I'm sorry. Well,
I have no idea.
Go back a little, and then you were ahead of me, and it's a whole big thing.
I don't know. We're all. I'm at the moment. All I know is I'm at the moment I want to talk about. So I'm going to mention it. It's the following scene. The point is, I love. I love the idea. One of my favorite scenes. Whenever I think of this movie, I kind of think of this scene along with kind of the Batman Joker. I just love Batman Joker's interactions as well as the Batman Dracula dynamic of the film. I love the oddly touching and sad scene between Batman and Joker. Yeah. It's like, have mercy on a sad clown. It's like, oh my God. It's like oh God. He has mercy on the Joker. It's so he presents mercy to the Joker in a way. Batman gives
a lot of the elements of the story have to center around that very idea.
It's just the fact that, again, Batman's giving his own blood to his arch enemy to save his life. And then this is before Dark Knight, I want to point out, we had the whole, you Batsy, you complete me.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, it's kind of a Joker, in a way, it provides Vampire Joker provides a middle ground for Bruce Wayne's humanity in the Batman myth of Batman Joker always having kind of the flip side of the coin thing, but also kind of Bruce Wayne's humanity providing that blood, because when he's pouring out that blood in that bag, that was with the mask down. That's what I'm saying. I think there's a subtle arc going on there.
Yeah, I can see that. For sure.
Then Joker's instantly making Batman regret his mercy because it's about time, Batsy. With the next feeding.
Oh God. I love the DNA strands on the computer. It's very kind of reminds me of Jurassic Park. I don't know, random observation.
Yep. Well, I don't see Mr. DNA coming out and singing anytime soon, but I kind of see what your point is.
Hello, John.
Now we got
John. Hello, John.
We need more John Hammonds.
Oh God. Doesn't everything? John Hammond is one of those characters like Wolverine. Just insert him into any movie and it'll make it better. The Dark Knight Rises with John Hammond. Anyways.
As Bane.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Or Talia al Ghul. We probably could use John Hammond as Talia al Ghul.
Well, that would make it a much better character, so yeah.
Okay, so Joker, Joker's cured, and again, I like that on some level, Batman is relieved that Joker's back, but again, years down the line, I think a more jaded, cynical Batman would rethink these mercies he had on the Joker this early in the career.
Like kind of Dark Knight Returns era Batman.
Well, yeah, even then, I'm just saying. Don't I'm not saying he would kill him. I'm just saying he might regret the fact he had Joker contained in a way, like he could.
That's very true. That's very true.
Instead of like Joker's to be back out in the streets and back to kind of what he does best. Again, kind of this movie does strike me a lot as this is kind of like in the context of the series. This is kind of Batman getting into that rhythm of like, okay, Joker escapes Arkham and rinse and repeat sort of thing.
Oh.
I'm saying this fundamentally is the myth of Batman being really sown here for this series, and with elements like that. So I think in retrospect, I think it holds up.
And this really is the first time in the series like that we've seen some of this classic stuff go down.
Again, I think at the beginning we definitely have a lot of classic stuff that we hadn't seen before in the first season. Definitely in the first season. So I think it's pretty safe to say, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That's why I love the little mundane touch that Batman has to do. We see him actually do the process while he's expositing dialogue with Alfred, like clicking the machine together to build the gadgets.
Right.
I like that. I like seeing him put the little chairs together.
It's very cool. I agree.
Yeah. Yep.
It's very practical.
Poor Vicky's Mr. Train, and now she has to.
Oh God.
This guy. I love that Dracula's eyes are the same color as the serum, by the way.
I do like the eye colors. I like the eye color on the Joker as well when he's a vampire, the red.
Oh, yeah. So I love that...
don't be at train stations after dark, kids.
No, not safe. Especially when the guys do that weird fade effect with their face.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I love, Alfred's kind of bring a really good strategy to Bruce. It's all about strategy, and that if you're going to go up against Dracula, you may actually want to do it in the daytime.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And, fortunately, this was in a pre-Twilight society, so, none of that ridiculous sparkle bullshit.
And this kind of occurred to me on that rewatch, Dig, is that ultimately, Bruce can't fight the Batman legend all the way. It's kind of that... Again, he was about to fight in the daylight, which again would have it takes the mystique out of Batman when he's in daylight. Again, it's kind of the divide. Batman's usually always night centric.
Of course, yeah.
Not that we haven't seen a couple of cases where he's in
that weird one out of place daytime scene in Batman Returns.
Yeah, it's always kind of weird when he's. Usually, basically, Batman's as most kind of mythic when it's at night, and it's kind of the classic kind of thing. It's the idea, I think, that Bruce.
I'd say it's kind of like the opposite of Spider-Man, where Spider-Man is very much a daytime hero.
It always struck me as Superman's morning, Spider-Man's afternoon, Batman's night.
I like that. I can go with that.
Kind of a hero lunchtime, breakfast, lunch, and dinner sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you see what I'm saying? I like that ultimately he can't fight that again, he can't just be Bruce Wayne the full way or kind of embrace Batman through Bruce Wayne. He has to meet him in the middle for what we get ultimately. It's like he can't fight that legend.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so then they're kind of realizing the bloodletting's about to be going on.
Oh,
I think Vicky's waited long enough, Alfred.
Yeah.
And this they do all the time on the show. They do the suit up thing, but now he has more things to clip.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved it when he pulled the mask down. That was always a cool touch. But you always need a good suit-up thing in a Batman movie. I mean, look at Batman v Superman. Come on.
Well, yeah, but also look at Batman and Robin.
I'm saying, well...
I'm sorry, that was a cheap shot.
Yeah, that really was a cheap shot, Tiki.
And you know what? I actually, ironically, like Batman and Robin, so...
Well, aren't you special?
No, seriously, I think Batman and Robin's a very watchable movie from, a The Room style point of view. Anyways.
Basically, we're all preparing for the blood wedding here, and again, I like there is a logic to it. That again, it's basically reincarnating the soul of his former bride. That he has
It's
actually,
very, very true to the Batman, or I'm sorry, the Dracula mythos. You know, the whole Nina Harper storyline.
yeah. And I tell you, again, I don't mean to keep hammering this over the head. I'm just trying to weave a narrative here, if I may. So I want to say that also I like that another parallel with Batman is in this scene is that it's another level of kind of perversion of what if Dracula represents kind of again just the Batman side of this divide. He represents the myth, just Batman and Dracula are myth, and Dracula is going with the perversion of what Batman can never have. Like Batman can never just have a relationship with like another the costume thing. It will never go well. You know, Catwoman's always kind of a fling. You know, it can never have like a solid relationship like Dracula's coming. The myth can't have a relationship with another myth. It wouldn't be like the real thing we're going for here that's being flirted with on Bruce Wayne's side. Any relationship that a myth has with the other myth will not be tangible like Bruce Wayne and Vicki Vale in the daylight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy with that, right?
No, sounds legit. I get you.
It's kind of like
I've only seen this once, so I just haven't thought that deeply about it like you have. But sounds legit.
It's kind of a fun perversion what Bruce Wayne's going through in our story, just through Dracula's van. Look at this. This is Dracula's attempt at a romance versus Bruce Wayne's attempt at a romance. Very different, with the same girl, however.
Yeah.
Yet not a love triangle, oddly enough.
No, that's actually a really good thing that this film manages to avoid. It's kind of a nimble, tightrope act to avoid the love triangle trope with this film, and it does a good job at that.
I love that they do acknowledge a lot of the Dracula myth, and they kind of pick and choose again strategic, practical elements of it. Dracula avoids crosses like a secret pathway. I like to have some good logic tidbits here and there. So he goes to the catacombs and everything, and we don't see holy water either. I like they skirt around the religious. Aside from the crosses, we don't really get the religious kind of how that affects Dracula or not. But we stick with the basics. Stake through the heart kills him. Garlic not so helpful. And there's a bonus feature on the DVD, so that really you can find on YouTube anywhere. So they go through. There actually is some kind of vampire people who look into actual vampirism and the myth of vampires, and they look through actual cases of things that are similar to blood diseases that are actually similar to vampirism. If you actually go out in daylight, your skin will blister and burn, and
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Basically, they look into the origins of the vampire myth and everything,
okay.
as well as the logic of the book and everything. Where garlic the reason garlic's bad for vampires is that it promotes good blood flow. That's the logic behind that. You get it? So I'm saying there's a logic.
Why would that be bad for them? Wouldn't good blood flow imply they'd want more blood?
No, I'm saying it's they're undead, so it's they steal other people's blood. It's like they're for them. They're undead. It's
I don't quite get it, but that's fair.
Let's just press on. So, point is, Batman's taking out a lot of these guys, and we say take out, we mean saves them.
I love Batman with the vest, kind of almost the Chewbacca-esque vest.
Yeah, the bandolier bandola thing. Yep.
Again, I think the whole thing with the undead army, it's Batman gets to save a lot of people all at once, which is good. But it's just not needed, though. It's just I feel like you could have the exact same storyline without. Although, granted, I will say probably, okay, you know what, I take that back, because the one thing it does add to the storyline is how Batman gets framed for kidnapping all the people. So, you know what, I kind of take that back to a certain extent. It does wrap itself around narratively pretty well.
And a lot of people have compared it to Phantasm, I will admit, that Batman gets framed for another
yeah.
vigilante-esque figure. Also, I will say this: the whole tapping into the interconnected catacombs idea, very something that Snyder.
Oh yeah, getting some of that juicy Snyder real building action going on.
And again, just to clarify for folks, and we're talking about the good Snyder, Scott Snyder, not
the Snyder that wants to rape Batman in prison.
Well, let's just say not the Bizarro Snyder.
Oh dear. Oh god.
Basically, Scott Snyder, New Yorker, Zack Snyder, LAite.
Oh man. Oh, those people from LA. Oh,
Hollywood versus New York.
Oh,
go with the New Yorker. Anyway. No, nothing against people from LA. I'm sure they're all nice and good people. So, spoiler. So Batman is he's wrapping up the Penguins. He's, okay, movie's gonna be over. Nope, I'm going to use your corpse as a dinner. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the other line. I'm going to use your corpse as a wedding gift.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tiki, seriously, I want to talk about this moment, though. So again, this moment really seems to me, this is Batman's arc. Again, the arc right here is coming to fruition where it's, well, before the ending, of course, but it's like when he's realizing that Batman Bruce Wayne is not one or the other. It's the meeting that in this scene we're about to see right here, where he's kind of having the vision in his mind of the other really iconic Batman moment, where again he falls down, he sees the bat for the first time as a kid.
Sure.
And what that is, that's symbol. I think that is symbolized. It never occurred to me until I really thought about it. Is that, oh my god, that is kind of the perfect representation of Batman realizing he needs to be both, not just one or the other. Is that it's Bruce Wayne seeing what would create that symbol. It's the kid Bruce Wayne who just lost his parents. Not necessarily in this scene. I'm just saying it's the kid who grew up to be the guy behind the mask, seeing what would create that mask. You know.
Yeah, it's very striking for sure.
But again, that symbol more so. Again, that Dracula-like symbol it's not him choosing one or the other. It's the mixture of those two elements together. So he's not the son of Dracula, but he is at the core of garbed in Dracula. He is the son of Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's why he picks up the pearls, and you see that's the transition beautifully there from the kid holding the pearls to Bruce Wayne to the mask to Dracula. I mean, to the bat to the mask.
Yeah.
I think it holds up.
I don't have a lot to add to what you're going into, just because, like I said, I've only seen this once, so I haven't really had time to really zero in on a lot of themes. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It sounds legit. I just don't really have a lot to add.
And I love that following that, Dracula, he is then shown to, you see in his monstrous form. So again, he's kind of taken the Bruce Wayne veneer.
I love the monster form.
Yeah, I love that from this point forward, he's all in the monster form. Because again, that's who he really is. He's not, it's purely the symbol of who he is as Dracula. It's not no veneer of he's the Peter Stormare kind of socialite.
I feel like the monster form is definitely more Dracula from the original Bram Stoker books.
Oh yeah, there was a big influence with the Bram Stoker stuff in this one. That was the other thing I meant to mention earlier on.
Well, I mean that's okay. Stoker. That's where
I would say it's kind of assumed. I just want to specify they did draw some influence directly from the Bram Stoker. It was the only thing of background actually.
The interesting thing about this, I feel like, is that they kind of draw influences from all three of the main Draculas. The Stoker one, the Lugosi version, and the Christopher Lee version. I feel like design-wise, for the regular Dracula, it's very much Christopher Lee. I think a lot of the mannerisms and a lot of the writing and dialogue for Dracula when he's in prim and proper form is kind of Lugosi-esque. And of course, this stuff right here is more in line with the book. I mean, not so much like the superhero, knockout brawl, but just the look.
Again, it's a really intense fight, too, because again, Dracula...
It is.
And again, I love that Batman ultimately used outwitting Dracula as a way of, kind of compensating for the lack of powers here, as he's leading him to where he needs him to go.
Yeah,
so I've always figured, Batman without even going up against someone like Superman, without kryptonite or anything prepared, he would still be able to kind of trick him in some way,
Right.
I think it's accurate, especially if he's in control of his face. He can trick Superman like that. Come on.
Well, let's not talk about Batman versus Superman.
I'm saying it is a versus thing after all, but let's not dwell on
it. I'm just saying, I'm not. I'm just avoiding the inevitable line. I'm not going to say the line.
Okay, don't say it. Don't say it.
I won't. Anyways.
Yes. Again, very strategic Batman fighting here.
Uh-huh.
We in the cave yet?
Yeah, we're in the cave. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so I love how Alfred's about to kind of come to Bruce's rescue here, and he's about to come to Batman's rescue, and we also have that great line when he enters the cave: "I'm going to use your cape as a dinner napkin."
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
I'm sure there's also some Vicki Vale stuff going on here, cut with
that's where I am right now. Is the Vicki Vale versus Penguin. Well, now I'm at Batman. God damn it! It's skipping around. It's jumping around. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. I'm at the part where he's about to blow through the cave. They're not in the Bat Cave yet. They're in the catacombs.
Oh God.
But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Point is, fighting's happening. In the meanwhile, what do you think of intercutting with the whole Vicki Vale Penguin chase?
It's fine. I don't mind it. It kind of makes sense. It's the two main storylines that have been going on. Penguin has kind of been the B villain throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
What do you think of Penguin being the main servant to Dracula in general? We kind of skipped over that.
Well, again, it was always kind of it's a fun conceit that, again, Penguin's trying to live he's trying to strive for legitimacy, like, I'm a Cobblepot, sir. That whole
right,
thing.
I really like the idea, like, even if Penguin wasn't being controlled by Dracula, he would still probably suck up to him to a certain extent.
Absolutely. And it turns on a dime, says, I'm Penguin, I'll be your server.
yeah.
And that Dracula loves to slash things.
Oh, yeah.
I love it when he does that head move, by the way, when he shoves the head down.
It kind of reminds me of the Scooby-Doo version of Dracula to a certain extent.
Which one? I mean, there's 80s Scooby-Doo.
The more modern one.
Right now, where I'm at is he's thrown him through the cave and he's doing that awesome entrance where he grabs him by the head and he moves him in there. By the way, standards and practices would not allow you to do it in the 90s, by the way. You can't grab people by the heads.
yeah. I'm about to that spot as well. We're about
as good
as we can be.
So disrespectful when he just tosses the car. Did you really need to do it? He just tossed it all the way down the water. He's going to have to get a crane in there. I mean, that's just mean, Dracula. I will say this, though. It's kind of random now. He kind of transforms back into human for a moment. That is kind of random.
Oh, God. You know what that kind of reminds me of? It's not as bad as this, but it kind of reminds me of, like, Venom randomly peeling off his face in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, it's not as bad. I'm just saying, like,
no, it's not as bad. It's not as bad by no means. But
I think they wanted to. They could accentuate the point where he kind of becomes incinerated later on. I think that's why they did it, just to show the.
Sure.
That's probably why. Also, as he entered, he also said, "Oh, I'm going to use your cape as a dinner napkin," which again I think is again delivered by Stonemaier, so intense, works so well. And then Penguin's going to stumble upon the mob treasure coming up.
Oh, yeah. He just stumbled on it.
Oh, no, yeah, same here. We're only a few seconds behind. We're good. We're good. We're better.
Oh, God.
Anyways, we're back in the...
Alfred with a crossbow. That's a pretty badass image, I must say.
That is cool, and I love that it was set up in the library, in, like, the medical library. And again, Tiki, what really it's a simple Batman moment. Tiki, it's very small, but I love it so much. When Alfred gets hurt, when he gets knocked out, when the look Batman gives him, like, okay, now I'm pissed off. You hurt Alfred. And I love that it was mentioned earlier by Vicki Vale. In fact, it makes Vicki Vale more relevant when she says earlier when she says, he really cares about. His worst fear is losing people close to him. That's that moment epitomized right there. Oh, yeah, you heard Alfred. You're done for, man. I don't want to stand next to
you. Sure.
And I love this. I love that Dracula's defeat is where Bruce and Batman meet. It's when Dracula's proved fundamentally wrong. Where he initially thinks Batman is like honoring him, that he's just like another myth to another myth. Like in the same.
He thinks that Batman is just kind of like fleeing from the situation.
Yeah. Again, I also love that it's in his cave. The Batman now has all the control. It's in the Batcave. It's in the. When I say where they meet, I mean quite literally where Bruce and Batman meet. It's like in the Batcave. It's in Wayne Manor. It's in Bruce Wayne's home, and it's using the device that Bruce Wayne's company built. Man.
Sorry, I love the shadow. The shadow, that's probably the best imagery in the whole special.
And that's the payoff right there of that earlier shadow we had. It's so wonderful. And
exactly, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah.
Now Dracula's in Batman's shadow. And again, I love the little touch. Initially, I never was really sure how I felt about it. So I just love him saying, you are Bruce Wayne. Because again, that's the culmination of that arc right there.
Sure.
I'm the Batman, and you're dust. And that's a cool moment. Also, again, it's a little bit of Batman showing mercy, too, because he punches him instead of letting him burn to death.
Oh, yeah.
Again, it's a wonder. think it's aside from Alfred's hilarious pun about, I shall fetch the dustpan immediately, sir.
Penguin coming to and then instantly being foiled.
Yep, as he gets the mob treasure and everything, it's, I'm gonna suck your blood or something. He's, oh my god, money.
Okay, so just about wrapping up here.
Yep. But yeah, again, I like kind of the culmination of Bruce's arc is what defeats Dracula is what I was getting on.
Yeah, definitely.
There, but it's hilarious. Out goes the monocle. Anyway, so basically wrapping things up with the reporter here, and Penguin saying they were vampires. I say vampires with big honking fangs.
Mm.
I want to get your take on this ending of Vicki looking up, seeing Batman. So what do you make of that?
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of the Sam Raimi endings to Spider-Man 1 and 2, where Spider-Man's just kind of swinging through the city triumphantly, but like a good kind of Batman-appropriate version of that. So I like it.
Well, no, I mean specifically Vicki looking at Batman.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't read that much into it, to tell you the truth.
Well, I mean, I kind of figured that she might have figured out who he is.
I honestly didn't catch that at all. So,
well, I mean, I'm just saying there's not a lot of evidence to support. I'm just saying, why would they spend like time on?
Like I said, just this stuff right here is kind of like Raimi Spider-Man-esque a little bit, where he's just swinging through town and stuff.
I'm saying this is also. I will say this as much as I don't want to just say it's borderline. I'm saying this is a way you kind of end the Batman thing. You're right. It's kind of in the vein of the Raimi thing. I'm saying the last shot here, like the cape's floating in the wind, looking over the city. Mm-hmm. It's a classic Batman shot, but it's also very Mask of the Phantasm-esque too.
Sure.
I mean, they keep pulling. I'm saying there are similarities in that because he was swinging through it for Phantasm, and you also have like over the city. So
and granted, I haven't seen Phantasm, so a lot of the references you're pulling to that, they're just going to go over my head to a certain extent.
I know. I'm just these are like very, very minor things. I don't expect you to. Anyways, I'm just saying. I think there's a suggestion that the only reason I can think why they would spend a little bit of time like hers looking at because they kind of ended on she's like the last line of the movie. I'm just figuring like before we see the image.
I mean, no, it's like. Without you mentioning it, I probably wouldn't have picked up on that. But
I think I've read it now. It's like, okay, well, she's probably figured out that Bruce is Batman because she spent so much time lamenting over Bruce. Hey, give her a little something.
Now that you say it, yeah, for sure.
She's been through so much in the movie. Give her a little something, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I guess before we get to final thoughts, do you want to just lay out some of the Halloween tropes? Because honestly, there really aren't that many in this one.
Well. Sure, but real quick, I want to mention one last thing to the movies because again, it all kind of blend together in the end.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I just want to mention with that ending shot, what I love about that, it's visually conveyed. No, it's a classic Batman shot, which is also great and also feeds into the kind of the lesson ultimately. So it's the acceptance of the Batman legend with that iconic shot that we've seen so many times before. It's the acceptance of Batman realizing, I am my own legend. Dracula's I am my own legend. Being its own, it's like the Batman legend being its own tapestry, separate from Dracula's. Dracula's its own thing. Batman is something that's going to last a lot longer. Dracula.
Oh yeah.
At least be more separate from Dracula. Dracula's like a passing similarity. Don't get me wrong, there's some parallels you can draw, but still, that's just in like kind of the surface, like what you initially see. But there's a lot more dimension to Batman, folks.
I mean, to a certain extent, just because there's been so much more written about Batman than Dracula.
I'm just saying in terms of the story, what they're going for in that. Like, there's a divide between,
I don't want to just, like, instantly write it off and say that Batman is, like, an infinitely more complex character than Dracula.
Yeah, I don't mean...
There's a lot of nuance to the Dracula character.
I don't mean... I'm just saying in terms of looking at the two as, like, separate myths that are being compared, is like, looking at Ultimate, it's like Batman kind of accepting, like, I'm not... I know, absolutely, I'm not just, like, kind of in the vein of, like, of Drake, something purely, based on fear that's going to hurt people. I am something a little better, and I've saved all those people, that sort of thing, Basically, coming to grips that he's different. That's all. It's sort of thing.
Okay.
So Halloween's
not a lot, not really a lot. I mean, there's graveyards for sure. Graveyards are definitely a good motif.
Vampires and Dracula,
of course, like an undead army. Shadows, good use of shadows.
Taking preventative measures to prevent monsters from entering your home.
Right.
Rain, scary rain.
For sure.
Death, hints at death.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of blood. Tons of blood. Two barrels of blood.
Maybe like the main villain and the hero sharing a resemblance to each other. Not really sure if that's a Halloween.
Van Helsing in the flashback.
I guess so. Yeah.
Well, it's very. We go to Transylvania in the flashback. I think that counts. Let's see. Again, just Gotham's very kind of gothic looking place. Yeah, it's not a lot, but again, it's more so in kind of I think
it's more so just kind of the fact that Dracula in general is just a very iconic like Halloween type character. So
he's one of the big monsters. He's kind
of course.
I think that suffices for a lot of kind of the nuances on that.
Okay, so I guess the only thing left to do is final thoughts. Let me go first, and then you can jump in.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, I'm sorry I don't have as much to say about this one as some of the others because you seem like you're just chock full of like ideas and theories and whatnot, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, that sounds legit. Because, like I said, it's like you are right. There's a lot of layers to this. There's a surprising amount of thematic stuff to kind of break down and dissect over this one, which makes it really strong. But it also, I feel, kind of makes it like one where you have to go back and watch it a couple times to really get all the nuance to it. So, like I said, I apologize if I wasn't like the most receptive to some of the stuff you were spewing out. I just didn't have a lot to add to the conversation because I've only seen it once. But overall, it's a good special. It's definitely not among my favorite Batman things I've ever seen. It's not like in the pantheon of like horror classics or anything, but it's good. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad we covered it. A lot of good imagery, really like the backgrounds, really like kind of the mythology of Dracula versus the mythology of Batman. Really good themes, interesting payoff. Like I said, you definitely have a handle on that a lot more than I do, so I'm kind of just taking your lead when it comes to that stuff. But no, overall, I really liked it. Really solid entry, kind of an unconventional entry for us on Haunted Holiday Hijinks.
Yeah, I liked it very. I enjoyed it. On a base level, again, it's fun. You get some cool imagery with Batman. Batman going up against Dracula, but really kind of cool, kind of this Peter Stormare, very kind of against an amalgam of various Draculas. It's a cool take on Dracula at the very least. I really do like that. We get some cool sequences. Vampire, Joker, a lot of unconventional. Batman's he's one of those characters who's endured so long. You can put him in a number of situations, and you can kind of like he'll still be consistent. He can kind of adapt to all these out there situations. And Dracula seems like tonally something that kind of melds with him very well. And actually, if you look back at one of the earliest Batman stories that I've seen adapted a few times, Batman. He's kind of been linked with vampires for a very long time. Because I'm not just talking about the Kurt Langstrom thing. I'm talking about technically, it's kind of Here's the thing. I hate saying this is before the Joker because there was a few stories. See, Joker appeared in Batman #1 along with Catwoman, right?
Right.
Yes. And before that, you had Detective Comics. And Detective Comics, notably, it's kind of your kind of standard like kind of guys with you're standard kind of mobsters and criminals and so on and so forth, kind of your nicknames. And during that time, you have characters like kind of slipped under the radar who were kind of Batman's first villains, but I don't know the dates. The dates are always kind of up in the air. My point is, you had villains like Dr. Death, who many people confuse with Hugo Strange. Point is like characters who were very early on slipped under the radar. And one of those characters, who I want to say predated the Joker, who is a vampire-based character, the Mad Monk, or the Monk for short. Mm-hmm. And the many stories have told this, and it's kind of like a very kind of Batman falling in love with Julie Madison while he's kind of contending with a vampire. It's kind of them doing a kind of a dark, really dark vampire story where Batman actually would kill people in those early Detective Comics stories. That's kind of in the vein of what we were dealing with, and with him going up against this vampire. My point is, so Batman, in many ways, in the history of Batman, in the early days, he's kind of been linked to vampires, and I think this is kind of I'll admit it's not as initially deep, but you're right, Dave. I mean, initially it doesn't really strike you as like there's a lot of levels to this, but I mean, you see there is potential. There's like, okay, well, I mean, there's on the surface it's presenting some cool stuff. It's like it's pleasing on certain levels, but again, on the rewatch, you do kind of connect the dots. You're like, okay, well, there's kind of a runner through this, and there's okay, there's more of this than you thought. Again, you just got to give it the time of day. It's kind of thing on the Batman series as a whole. You got to give it a fair shake. You got to give it like basically saying, well, it's not what I'm used to. It's not like my classic. It's not my Batman. But let's see what does it bring into the table in terms of like the long-spanning 75 years plus lore of Batman. What is it bringing to the table? What have I not seen in animation that this is bringing to me? And again, this for me is I'm drawing. I'm just going to wrap it up here. So let me say, this is something I do watch every Halloween because whether I just want to watch it because it's the Batman or not, believe me, I'm going to watch animated series over the Batman. Not it's it's
I would think so. Yeah,
not the worst show. Again, it's not the worst show. It's just it's not the best show either.
I hope Steve Baskey at least can admit that the animated series is better than this.
Baxi. Anyway, I like
Love
Steve
you,
Baxi.
Love you, Steve.
I like Steve Baxi. I disagree with him on certain things. That's all. I like Baxi. I've talked to him. Wonderful. Wonderful. Anyway, brilliant guy. Goes a little long on the Plato comparisons in his reviews. I'll say that much.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, more Aristotle. It's Aristotle, but it's kind of both Aristotle and Plato. My point is, getting back to it, Batman vs. Dracula is something I do enjoy around every Halloween. Again, seeing Batman kind of contend with a really interesting take on Dracula. It's kind of a classic, all-encompassing Dracula. Mm-hmm. A lot of fun. It's also, again, it's kind of like it's great that it's kind of outside of the series. But if I were to show it to a newcomer like yourself, Diggy, I do have to explain a few things. Like here's what they're going for with Penguin and Joker.
Right. Yeah.
I do have to explain a few things in terms of the two familiar characters, but it does stand on its own pretty well aside from that, though.
It does. And like I think probably what you were referring to, like some of the elements we haven't seen, like not just from animated Batman and Batman in general, I think is kind of the nice exploration of themes, the nice kind of like the legacy of Dracula versus the legend of the Batman. That is kind of a really cool symbolic connection this thing makes that makes it kind of unique and stand out for sure.
Yeah. Batman was a period when we were starving for we need more Batman. We're about to lose Justice League in 2 years. We need more. We need
Right.
Batman, and of course, you know that starving time in the mid 2000s. We were all not just for animation, but for the superhero movies, and we were just kind of starving for whatever we get our hands on. Fantastic Four 2. Come on, we were just hoping for.
Well, I remember going into Fantastic Four 2 being like, I hated the first one, but this one's got Silver Surfer in it. You got to see it.
Yeah, you had that, and
you also Silver Surfer. It can't be bad.
That era of Marvel, just kind of that mid 2000s era, where we're just kind of clamoring for superheroes, but we were gifted in 2008 with all the high quality stuff.
I still remember like the traumatic experience of sitting in theaters realizing Hulk wasn't the movie I thought it was going to be.
I'm talking about that point right at the end of 2004 after Spider-Man 2. That's the period I'm talking about.
Well, Spider-Man 2, maybe it's just the fact that Spider-Man 2 kind of cast a huge shadow over everything else in that era because it's so good that nothing else could possibly measure up to it.
My point is, this is the point where we're really starving for kind of like the next superhero thing in terms of Batman, in particular, animation. Because again, we had a high bar to live up to, and you know what? It's a 10 we're looking at today. It just shows you, the show does have things to offer. And again, Batman versus Dracula, it's unique, and it's something to be watched. It's something to be enjoyed around the holidays, around not just any holiday, but Halloween.
Okay. All right, well, that's a good place to end it then. Well, folks, our spirits grow weary, but don't worry, they'll be stronger than ever next time as we engage in even more haunted holiday hijinks.
Yeah.
Children of the night, what music they make.